PlayStation logo. Alvin Daniel.
If you can't enjoy gaming, you're in some sense being left out of the conversation.
Scenes from PlayStation games.
Your friends are all playing, and if you can't participate, you're kind of socially disconnected from them. Project Leonardo, with the help of the community, with the help of accessibility experts, has been realized today as the Access Controller.
Words appear. Access Controller. Behind the design. A view of the controller and its parts. Conception. So Morimoto.
For everyone, including me, you need a controller to enjoy PlayStation games. I wanted to make this controller so that everyone could enjoy it.
Ryan Barkataki.
It was incredibly important to us to create an accessible controller, as we were really aware of a lot of players in the world who couldn't use PlayStation for a variety of different reasons. In order to get around this, they themselves had modified hardware, used third-party solutions and other ways to be able to interact with it. And it was very clear and obvious to us that we needed to do something to sort this problem out.
Various Access Controller prototypes.
The first step was to try to figure out what we didn't know.
Alvin.
Not being disabled myself, it was very important for me that we try to learn and understand what it was we needed to solve for. To get this right, we really need to engage the community. We really need to be talking to experts in this field to advise and guide us on what challenges we need to solve. How do we go about solving it? And we spent a lot of time consulting with experts such as from Able Gamers, from Stack Up. They're a military disabled veterans organization with special effect over the United Kingdom. And they lent us a lot of insight into key challenges that were preventing people from interacting with a standard controller. In consultation with the community, in consultation with experts, we went through very extensive prototyping phase, a much longer prototyping phase than we typically have, across 3 continents, gathering data.
User testing. Ryan.
There was certainly more team effort and collaboration with the Access Controller, more so than any other project that I've worked on. In our user testing lab in Tokyo, we have a viewing room, and in that viewing room there was always a member from industrial design or interaction design or the various other different departments involved in the project. Having this level of collaboration with the user research was incredibly important. It can't have been easy for the teams to sit in that viewing room and watch their designs get taken apart every day.
So.
It was very important to listen to what users were saying. I put a lot of importance on observing their behavior. Why the action did not work, why the operation could not be performed. I think I found a lot of solutions.
Nozomu Uchida.
As for hardware, we made several prototypes. Each time we asked the users to test it, listened to their evaluations, and made improvements in the next prototype based on their feedback. Repeating this process over and over again.
Yurika Mulase.
Because it was a new concept, there was a lot of understanding of the target user first. My design partner, he's really good at creating high-fidelity prototypes.
Shoei Yonetomi.
We made a prototype of a promotional movie. Before actually testing it with the PS5, a user could watch the promotional movie and see the information before the user operated it on the PS5. This way, the user testing was prepared in a more realistic environment.
Yurika.
When we actually got the user test results, our assumptions were wrong. And so taking the raw feedback from the target users really influenced how we think about accessibility and the user experience around that.
Asuka Kambayashi. After seeing it for the user, this is easy to use. Or conversely, with this structure, it's hard to use here. Or you can't put your finger in, not being able to pick things up. Or things like that being easy to use. We've been receiving such feedback and brushing up. Ryan.
One of the greatest challenges with working on the Access Controller was trying to synthesize results from such an ubiquitous device. You have all of the different hardware buttons, you have all of the different software options, as well as the accessibility conditions and the various games that people use. They could be using it with a DualSense, or they could be using it in the pairs. The amount of different configurations that were out there was overwhelming at first.
Design. So.
I think there are as many designs as there are customers. It's about getting them to build their own access controller to their liking. I believe there is no correct form of design. What I focused on when designing was to think of a design that would be compatible with any combination, so that the beauty of the design would not be compromised in any combination.
Hardware Alvin.
We wanted to provide a unique, accessible controller that helped solve 3 key challenges. You didn't have to hold it to use it. It was much easier to press buttons that were all organized in a single plane, and had a lot of thumbstick repositionability and flexibility. And we want to deliver all of that in a controller kit that you could customize and adapt from day one out of the box.
So,
It is basically circular with an arm attached to one end. In the center of the circle, there is the largest button called the center button, and 8 buttons are arranged radially around it. The direction of this controller can also be freely set by the customer. Top, bottom, right, and left are up to the customer. It is designed in a circular shape so that the buttons can be operated in the same way no matter how they are placed. At this time, by changing only the characteristics of the buttons, the customer can place them in any direction and arrange the most appropriate buttons for that location.
Nozomu.
We decided to use flat buttons as our standard and prepared them, but actually the most popular with the users was the pillow button, the button cap shaped like a pillow, the most comfortable to touch and use. The height is close to the stick cap. That way the movement distance of the hand is short for easy operation. We received this feedback from users, and we realized that it was important. We think each person has their own style of use. Easy to use on the desk, on their laps, in a wheelchair with an AMPS mount. There are various cases, so to be used more comfortably in your lifestyle, we prepared this as an option.
UX UI Yurika.
One of the biggest challenges for the UI was explaining this complicated product as simple as possible. We started off with a lot of text. No one wants to read text. So we tried to use 3D animations as much as possible so that the user can focus on the movement of the controller rather than reading.
Shoy.
Once you buy it and get it connected, changing the various buttons and adjusting the stick length with 3D model animation in the initial setting. Not only that, I put such a menu so that the customer can customize the buttons at any time, even after completing the initial settings. You can also adjust the stick sensitivity, so it's a controller as if you build both software and hardware from scratch.
Packaging Alvin.
We wanted the entire experience from the time you purchase it to be accessible, going all the way to the packaging so that the unboxing experience is designed to be openable with one hand, for example.
Asuka. We don't have this structure in our usual products, but we made a hole so that you can hook your fingers. Also, it allowed us to add 2 holes at seal cut. The user could open with either the right hand or the left hand. Our team discussed that it would be better to give both options, and that's how it is now.
The greatest challenge so far was getting our foot out the door for this type of product.
Ryan.
Seeing players who had never used the PlayStation before suddenly being able to actually use it via the access controller and the subsequent joy on their face was something I would certainly remember for a long time.
Shoy.
It's not the end, even after the product launch. We keep trying to improve, so I'm really looking forward to hear user feedback.
Access controller available on December 6, 2023 at direct.playstation.com and select retailers. PlayStation logo.
PlayStation